Who
They
built
brought
these
him in
machines
at
of
midnight.
unmaking?
A
Not
child
monsters
wrapped in the
alone,
hush
but
of palace
administrators.
corridors,
Oil
lawyers
lamps
guttering
guttering
like
like
lungs,
lungs.
priests,
No one sang
and
for
patrons
him.
who found
The
utility
men who
in
led
a
him wore
predictable
the bomb
body,
of officials,
power assembles teams,
not the frenzy of
engineers
butchers,
of compliance,
bureaucracy
studies
in
in
human
human
form,
surgeons
a state
studied
that
angles,
could not afford the
clerks
chaos of
optimized
desire.
ledgers.
This is
Religious
where
authorities
empires
learned to
sanctified
solve the same
procedure.
problem. Merchants
How to
profited.
turn youthful
The project
bodies
required
into pliant
expertise,
instruments of power.
status, how to
and
unmake a
plausible
man and
cover,
reassign him a
science,
new
law, and
life
ceremony.
inside the gears of
Study the
administration.
manuals.
Hear this
You
and
find
don't flinch.
diagrams of
In
instruments,
Constantinople,
measurements,
the cut
and
was
recovery
surgical and
protocols.
fast. You find sections
In Ottoman
titled
provinces, the
minimizing
cords strangled the
mortality and
testicles until they rotted
maximizing
away.
yield. In Ming
Cutting
cutting
houses,
houses,
the
the procedure was
programs,
industrialized
apprenticeships,
into shifts.
quality control.
In Persian
This was
pens,
industrial
animals did
design
the
for
work.
governance.
In
Authors
Hungarian
called it
squares, the
craftsmanship and
spectacle
named
burned
efficiency
flesh to
virtue.
educate a city.
Now look at the modern
In
equivalents.
Rome, the beasts were
policy white
choreographed
papers
as
that
theater.
recommend
In
interventions
modern labs,
framed
they
as
call it
public
chemical
safety.
hygiene. Clinical
Different
trials that
tools.
strip informed
Same
consent.
logic.
Bureaucratic
Remove the
targets
capacity
measured
to
in
reproduce
percentages
and
and
redistribute male
The
utility.
vocabulary is clinical. The graphs are convincing.
heated
The
pincers,
ethics committees nod.
The silk ligature,
The tools
the acid,
evolved, but the calculus
the dog's
repeats.
teeth, the
Scale
chemical
control.
syringe.
Reduce
Each
variance,
method
ensure
carries the same
compliance.
signature.
The difference between a
Systemized
cutting house
cruelty
manual and a
efficient.
policy
Efficiency
memo is
converts
form,
horror
not
into policy.
policy. Records
And here's the
survive not
hardest
because
truth.
men love.
When institutions
Cruelty, but
normalize
because the
control
state
over
loved
bodies,
reliability.
they
Ledgers
normalize
list
a hierarchy
hierarchy
of war survival
Some
rate.
lives become
Manuals
expendable for the
prescribe
greater
angles of
administrative
administrative
goal. The artisan who forged
Some
the
bodies
blade.
become commodities.
The surgeon who timed the
ledger
cut to
silences
60
the moral
seconds.
culpability.
The clerk who logged
Naming
the
this
voice.
is the start of resistance.
Name.
So what
All
must you do?
components of a machine
First
that
learn to
turned
identify the language of
mutilation into
reclassification.
administration.
When
The
policy
institutional
speaks
voice
in risk
neutralizes
scores
shame
instead
with
of
procedure.
rights.
When
The
medical
severity of the
language
act
masks
becomes a
score
line
an
item.
When
The
legal
more
codes
ordinary
rebrand
violence
violence
on
is
paper.
order.
Second,
The easier the
refuse to
constant
let
slides.
efficiency trump dignity.
Consider the
Question
psychology
ledgers
embedded
and their
there.
fees.
Remove
Ask
the
for
future
bodies
of
to
a
be
boy
seen
and
as
you remove
persons,
his
not
claim to
inventory.
ordinary manhood.
Third, carry the story.
You replace it with
Memory
the
undoes
dependency the state
normalization.
controls.
Tell those
The
histories
survivor
aloud so
becomes
the
useful,
ledger
not
cannot
in spite of
pretend
loss,
neutrality.
but because of
if
it.
this lands on
Gratitude
you, don't
and
keep it
terror are
private.
braided into
Speak
loyalty.
it. Share it.
A child
Teach your
learns
sons
that
about
his
the
life,
ledger, not
his
to be
roof,
complicit.
his bread,
The final act of
his
power
place
is to
in the
make
palace
injustice
is owed
ordinary.
to patrons
The final
who
act
paid
of
for his
resistance is to
mutilation.
make it unforgettable.
He will repay
This is
with
dangerous
obedience
knowledge
because it
secrecy, and
rewires
service.
how a man
This
sees
is not distant
institutions.
trivia.
It is
The same
potent
conversation
because it hands
echoes
you a
through
map
systems
of
that
how
value
systems
control over
subvert
dignity.
freedom. Use
The
that
instruments
map.
change.
Guard your body.
The appetite
Guard your
for
voice.
obedience remains.
Refuse the ledger.
When power
If you
finds a
walk away with
structural
one
problem,
sentence,
it designs an
let it be
apparatus.
this.
Castration
Power was
will
one
design
such
instruments to solve
It was
its
a
problems.
solution to fear dressed
Your
as
work is
medicine,
to refuse their
spectacle,
calculus and
religion,
hold human
and
dignity
economy.
above their
It built
accounts.
empires on bones still. Public squares learned to weaponize pity. In Hungary, they heated pincers until the tips glowed and tore flesh in front of thousands. The goal wasn't only pain, it was instruction. See what happens to those who challenge order. But spectacle misfires. Burn a man piece by piece and he may become a martyr. Empires learn to calibrate terror, enough to teach obedience. Not so much that sympathy becomes revolt. Where Europe made punishment theater, China industrialized the process. Cutting houses ran like workshops, quotas, clamps, bronze tubes to keep urethras open, recovery rooms and training floors. Families signed contracts. Officials kept ledgers. Boys moved through processing, recovery, then vocational training. The factory didn't just remove organs. It manufactured identities. Castrates learned to sing, to scribe, to manage finance, skills that repaid the state for what it had taken. Animals became instruments. Persian pens baited pigs with blood and honey. Rome choreographed packs of dogs in amphitheaters. Municipal budgets listed feed in cages. A ledger entry turned cruelty into infrastructure. That neatness hides intent. Make pain efficient, repeatable, anonymous. A clerk erases a life with an accounting line. A physician turns cutting into protocol. An executioner turns theater into civic ritual. Pattern emerges: concealment, systemization, normalization. Hidden basement cuts, standardized manuals. Public rituals, and each stage sloughed off moral friction. Routine makes atrocity edible. People learn to accept what they see often. The legal form seals the deal. License and fee schedules make cruelty legitimate. What did this produce? Men whose bodies were rewritten by the state, who owed their station to loss. Survivors became confidants, administrators, choir voices, human instruments that carried secrets and enforced obedience. The scar becomes proof of loyalty. The altered voice becomes a social marker. The system did not merely punish. It harvested humans and repurposed them. Then modernity introduced a quieter apparatus. Chemistry, hormonal regimens, injections, pharmaceuticals that erased libido over months, clinical language wrapping annihilation. Treatment replaced spectacle. Records became medical charts, not ledgers. The instruments changed. The objective did not. Power seeks techniques that scale. Blades were replaced by syringes, and the state's appetite for control only refined its tools. Listen, beyond methods lies a choice. Societies decide if bodies stay private or become raw material for governance. Why this history matters to men who value freedom. If you're feeling this, comment "forged by loss" twice below. Forged by loss. Forged by loss. Say it to lock the idea in. Repetition is ritual. Ritual binds recognition. If you will watch, mark yourself. We go deeper now. Brutality needed stories to survive. Law books, religious rulings, medical treatises, and municipal codes built moral scaffolding. Clergy named sin, scribes named order, physicians named hygiene. Where a ledger recorded a fee, theologians read providence. The state wrapped atrocity in meaning. That meaning made atrocity acceptable. Language does the heavy lifting. Words like purification, chastisement, réhabilitation, treatment translate violence into a mission. Manuals taught cutters the angle to minimize deaths and maximize throughput. Executioners circulated notes about spectacle timing. When to pause so horror becomes pity, when to escalate so fear hardens. Administrative files read like inventories. One ledger entry, name, date, method, fee, neat, indifferent. The record makes atrocity routine. Beyond mechanics lay craft. Recovery rooms doubled as conditioning chambers. Boys convalescing on straw were rewired with sentences. You are chosen for service. They learned to call their removal honor, to sing the praises of patrons who owned their futures. Trauma and doctrine fused. Some boys internalized a new identity. Others became hollowed instruments of obedience. The system harvested both outcomes. The economics are plain. Supply chains moved children like goods. Farmers sold sons in spring after winter scarcity. Cutting houses ran shifts to meet quotas. Courts counted survivors as stock. Profit made cruelty efficient. Where money flows, moral breaks corrode. Officials measured success in percentages, survival rates, yield per month, productivity of trained castrates. The ledger became the ethics. Now look at the modern mirror. Instruments change. Architectures persist. Chemical regimens, clinical protocols, algorithmic risk assessments, policy papers. These are new languages that can sanitize coercion. Today, interventions are justified as treatment, security, or prevention. But the logic remains. Remove unpredictability. Install compliance, scale control. The choice we face now is subtle. Consent manufactured or consent genuine. The old methods taught us how obedience is built from absence. The next section exposes architects who designed the absence.